This is Joshua Reeves with Leader to Leader. In this episode, we're meeting with Jason Conklin, President of Infrastructure Solutions, and today we're going to talk about leadership and their business as it applies to America's infrastructure and how Jason applies leadership principles on a daily basis to improve the country's infrastructure. So Jason, why don't you introduce yourself real quick for the crowd, and then we'll get right into our topics of the day.
I'm Jason Conklin, President of Infrastructure Solutions, iSolutions. Been with iSolutions for a little over 3 years, and been an exciting time.
Very exciting.
I'm excited to be here today to talk about leadership.
Great.
In our company. Yeah.
So from my past life, my career evolution, I use the analogy that communication is the hardest thing we do, and that we're in a people business, not a bricks and mortar business. And so communication, as it applies to the work you're doing with people in the office, and you have working crews in the field that are reporting up through you. So tell me a little bit about how you have to adjust or leverage communication in terms of field communications, which I think you would agree the craftsmen in the field doing the real work, I'll say, have their own language and communication style that's probably varying from the office. So can you help me understand how you manage that?
Sure. Communication is a huge obstacle that we're all constantly dealing with, whether it's our personal relationships or professional relationships. So, I kind of boil it down to the message needs to be consistent across the board, whether it's people in the office or the field folks, keeping that message consistent while being flexible in the way that you deliver it, and the differences between the people that you're delivering it to. I mean, there's differences between our field crews and the way that we communicate with one crew, and one foreman or leader of that crew may be different. So you always have to be conscientious of who the message is going to, and trying to meet them where they're at. One of the things that comes to mind is, one of the pillars upon which we really have built Infrastructure Solutions is knowing our cost, our daily cost of doing business. And we've tried to communicate that out all the way through the estimators, project managers, superintendents, foremen in the field. And having that life cycle of a project and understanding that at all levels of the company is very important. So if you think about our process and the way that we pursue a project, we put an estimate together, and essentially at that point we're developing that cost estimate. We're putting together what we think, our best guess, what it's going to cost to build that project. So that becomes our budget when we win a project, and we put that budget out to the field, and those guys have a framework upon which they're trying to build the job cost-wise. So we want feedback from that. When we estimate a project, we put it out to the guys in the field to go build that. We want to know in the office how we're doing. It's very important to know how much it's costing us to work. Are we within our budget? Are we not? We want to be able to make adjustments because we're continuously bidding, so we don't want to repeat the same mistakes over and over. So
I came up with a really great pun for your industry.
Okay.
And it has to do with the street. Communication, what you're describing simplistically is communication is a two-way street.
Boom. That's a good one. Yeah. So what's been our challenge in communicating that is that the way that the budget is perceived between the office and the field is very different. Oftentimes the guys in the field will feel that the budget and the productions are an instrument upon which the office is going to beat them up, hold them accountable or hold their feet to the fire that they're not getting enough done in a day. While, in the office, we're looking at, the budget and saying, well, why aren't they able to meet the budget? But ultimately, it's about having a team that's working together cohesively to build a business. And that business is continuous projects being built. So we have to, challenge ourselves to be open, honest, and direct with communicating through these tough topics. And ultimately, I think that's kind of what I go back to when I think of communication is, being direct about here's what the budget is, here's why we want to know what you're getting done in a day so that we can make adjustments. Because in the office, when we estimate, we don't always know for sure what we're going to be able to get done in a day. That's why it's called an estimate.
You mean that's not an exact science?
No way. No way.
So what you're really saying, and something I say all the time, is in communication, you got to know your audience. And so tailoring your communication, and that's really the crux of the question, is tailoring your communication to best reach the guys in the field so that they're not feeling the threatening piece you were alluding to, and getting them to communicate back upstream to the office in terms of how the office people can best utilize their intelligence, right? So,
absolutely. And again, I think that, that's being honest about the why we're doing what we're doing, being direct about it, and just trying to be clear in how we're going about doing those things. And yeah, it's, the message is consistent across the field and the office. This is what we're doing, this is the why. But, when we talk to the guys in the field, the guys and gals in the field, it's, we want to do this so that we can make adjustments in the office and know going forward what we need to do to change, and vice versa, so that the guys in the field can know, they're having success today, they're having a good day. It's not always not always negative,
bad,
right?
bad news. Yeah, communication doesn't have to be bad. So I'm glad you hit on the why, and I'm also glad that you hit on and you I want to re-emphasize it, the huge important part of being clear and concise and direct in your communications, so that everyone's clear. And that part, sometimes people think they're communicating well because they're using a lot of words, but if they're not clear and concise, things get lost, right? So,
yeah, absolutely.
So the next item here is to talk about iSolutions, infrastructure solutions, rapid growth. And my real question here has to do with leadership as it applies to teams that are experiencing rapid growth, and having been there before, teams that are experiencing rapid growth and how they lead from month to month varies and is difficult, because what you were doing last year during rapid growth may be totally different for what you're doing this year. And so tell me a little bit about how you see infrastructure solutions growth and the team and leadership and all of that coming together.
Yeah, I mean, my perspective as I've grown in my career has changed. My perspective is something that I always try to keep in mind, the perspective of which we're looking at things, right? And perspective is very important. If you have this big, overwhelming problem, the way I work through those things is breaking it into digestible chunks. So if I think about like a project being very similar in my mind and my perspective to a company, so leading a project is similar to leading the business. And both of them, the project and the company, you have to have a good team. You have to have that team performing tasks. So whether it's a project, you're pouring, curb and gutter, you're pouring concrete or laying pipe, it's the same with building budgets, the same with building an estimate. That team is doing that task. So it's really a scalable thing, Both projects and companies have budgets. Both projects and companies have oversight by either the owner or, the board of directors. So ultimately it comes down to really building that good team, and being able to support the growth that you're going through with that team, and having a good team in place to help you go through it. I mean, I've never built a project when I was working in the field by myself. I always had a good team around me, whether it was employees or subs, suppliers that helped bring that project to completion. And it's the same with a company or with a business. You have to have good people around you that you can count on and lean on, and ultimately together, that's where the success comes from, right? Is having that good team.
Yeah, I would agree 110% that you're only as good as the people around you. That's for sure. So what other struggles do you see coming down the pipe with the economy, with the change in the infrastructure world, as it applies to your business, your team, your leadership, your ability to continue to thrive? Is leadership and everything else going on around you part of that?
Sure. Yeah, I think that, again, it's kind of like, the communication piece. You want to be consistent, you try to be, a good leader, and every day, like we want to be consistent in the goals that we're setting and how we're going to achieve those goals, and, communicate that clearly and concisely. But, as far as looking in the crystal ball and seeing, what the future holds, I mean, anybody, your guess is as good as mine. I think that we're uniquely positioned here in Kansas City, that we're really in a good spot for a lot of sustained growth. Kansas City has so much going on, so we're very fortunate in that, in this community, the Kansas City Metro, that we have a lot of opportunity in front of us for several years. And you have to make assumptions, right? We have to assume that everything keeps clicking along, and we don't have another pandemic or another this or another that. And, so you kind of have to operate outside of that, and just, try to continually communicate throughout the team, but also through owners, subs, suppliers, and, hope that you're able to see a bump in the road before you're right on top of it. We
Are you making dad jokes now too, with the bump in the road joke?
Yeah, I mean, it was such a great example. A two-way street's going to have bumps in the road, Josh.
And the guy.
I'm trying to be consistent here.
I was waiting for you to say the guys in the field. That's where the real work happens. That's where the rubber. Meets the road.
That's where the rubber meets the road.
I was hoping you were going to go there, but you didn't. So, okay. Our next item, as the president of iSolutions, tell me a little bit about what you've learned. And you alluded to the fact that you worked in the field, you worked on projects. You're not a long-term executive. So tell me how your experience over the years has influenced your leadership style today. Help me with that.
Well,
story.
I think it's, I think it's common for folks to draw on the experiences that they've gone through in their life.
Absolutely.
To kind of form who you are. And I've been exposed to a wide variety of leaders and leadership styles. I mean, it's, as you alluded to, I started my career in construction, roofing houses. Not long after that, I was laying pipe in the ditch, as a laborer, and then I progressed up through the ranks as a foreman, a superintendent, project manager, estimator, and and now here I am as the president of a construction company. So I've seen lots of different leadership styles, and one thing that I've always tried to do, whether it was with leadership or any other skill, you try to draw on the things that you see others do that works, things that work for you. Not everything that you do as a leader is something that I'm going to do. I'm not going to make these funny pun jokes. I do like dad jokes, but no, I think, you see what works for other people, and if you think it's something that works for you, you put it in your toolbox. As a leader, we all have different things that we carry with us and carry forward, and they don't always work, but that's kind of the basis and the the structure of that for me. I think that
It's a great analogy. Some days I feel like I need a new toolbox with a whole new set of tools because it feels like some days all my tools are broken.
yeah, or somebody borrows them and doesn't bring them back.
I haven't had that problem. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So I think that I've had lots of bad leaders too. I've had I think that we've all had bosses that we could point to and say, well, I know I'm not going to do that if I'm ever in that situation, or if I was in that situation, I wouldn't handle things that way.
So do you still have that?
No, I mean, now I am the boss, Josh.
Oh, good, okay.
So yeah, I think, again, like the things that I really try to keep in the forefront of my mind when I'm, in a leadership position, or I find myself in a situation where leadership is needed, I try to revert back to the things that are important to our company, and that's, that knowing your costs, being safety first every day, building quality work, knowing that we represent GBA companies, that we're a part of that, and those are kind of the principles that I use to guide myself. And then I really want to empower the people around me. That's a philosophy that I really picked up from you and picked up from GBA leadership here, is that we're going to hire exceptional people and empower them to do their jobs, and support them, get out of their way, and let them do what they do to the best of their ability. So that's kind of my foundation or tenets on leadership. Maybe that's too simple, but I believe in keeping it simple.
Yeah. No, that's good insight and good intel, and it seems like managers and leaders evolving through their careers, some make it look a lot easier than others. Some fight it. Some try to use the strong arm managerial tactics, and I'm glad you mentioned empowerment, because that's one thing that I've learned as I aged in my career is when I was younger, I tried to well, I didn't try. I had a tendency to be a bull in a china closet and push people to get things done. And I learned over time it's so much better to empower the people that are exceptional at what they do and get out of their way, and it doesn't always have to be my way. So I'm really glad you said that. Empowering smart people goes a long way. So you also mentioned that Infrastructure Solutions is an affiliate of GBA companies. So help me understand a little bit about how that partnership impacts your decision making, your leadership, those kinds of things, and how does that relationship make you more marketable? Does it give you brand power, those kinds of things? Help me understand that relationship and the benefits as it applies to leadership and growth and evolution.
Well, for one, I mean, GBA's success as an engineering firm and the collaborative learning environment that they foster is a reason ultimately that GBA Builders is here. GBA Builders is a reason iSolutions is here. So, I always try to keep that in mind. I mean, it's definitely a family that we were welcomed into to build this business. So for one, that's unique. GBA as an architect and engineering firm is uniquely positioned in the market that we are in as a contractor. They have relationships with owners that we also work with and work for. So having a relationship internally with an engineer that's designing a sewer system or a water line project, and being able to talk with them about what that customer wants or needs or finds important is very valuable for us, because we can, through those relationships, ultimately we want to be able to leverage that or align ourselves with those needs, and ultimately see ourselves delivering projects to the market through some sort of alternative delivery or an alignment with GBA, architects, engineers, the WEG, transportation, site civil group, and be able to hopefully position ourselves uniquely as well to where owners want to come to us to solve their infrastructure needs.
So, in terms of the affiliation and the relationship, do you see that changing the fabric of the public works world, the infrastructure world, going from design, bid, build to more of an alternative delivery, design, build, integrated type of approach, where clients will start seeking out full solution firms to help them solve their infrastructure problems and needs? And since this is leader to leader, how is your role or that affiliated scenario helping to be leading that charge, not just as an internal team leader, but as an industry change? And how are you guys performing any kind of role in that leadership evolution?
Yeah, so I think that I don't know that we'll ever get 100% away from the design, bid, build, delivery method. But I do think that there will be an increasing amount of alternative delivery projects. I think that owners will see the value in that. And if there's firms out there that are able to deliver efficient projects, efficient solutions to their problems, then the owners are going to seek that out. They're going to look to partner with those firms. So I think,
are you part of a team helping lead that process?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're, it's definitely, it's a challenge internally and externally, right? We have to build those relationships internally, educate ourselves on the best way to do that, formulate strategies and what makes the most sense going forward and how we put that out there on the market. But yeah, it's absolutely something that we're working towards. And it's, when I think of vision, that's my vision, is that GBA Companies is able to have this collaborative, integrated team of engineers and contractors that are solving owners' problems.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's an exciting transition in our world today of getting what historically have been us and them mentalities, including the owner, to work together and to agree on a teaming approach and defining what the leadership means in those terms, so that you can have very successful projects and everybody on the team is successful, as opposed to the traditional design, bid, build, which historically is, there's a reason why litigation is so high in that world, and that kind of thing is it's a difficult way to operate in terms of teaming and leadership and those kinds of things. So I'm really glad to hear you're at the tip of the spear with that effort. What other closing thoughts might you have in terms of leadership and growth and awesomeness?
Yeah, I think that it's like a lot of things in our business. You don't ever get to the finish line. It's something that you have to constantly try to improve upon and learn how to do better. And the more you do, the better you'll be. I think being open and direct and honest in our communication with each other, we'll be able to hopefully get over the hump and continually to improve and be, really be the industry leaders. And a lot of that reflection on the outside is because of how we operate internally. And I think that that's, if we all kind of, own that challenge, I think that we'll all be better for it.
Great. Jason, I really appreciate your insight on this. Thank you for joining us. And continue the good work. Your business is booming, and I wish you all the luck. On our next episode, we will be sitting down with GBA Architects and Engineers President Jim Jarrett as he celebrates his first year in his new role as president, and we'll get some insights from him.
Awesome. Thank you.